Welcome everyone. Happy Tuesday. Thank you for joining me for this Facebook Live practice. I will be saving it if you aren't watching it live. Our practice today is all about the core. Back up. The core. So the core doesn't mean just these muscles in the front that give you that nice six-pack look. It could also mean the core on the side of your body and also the back of your body. So we'll be doing poses today that focus on all of those different areas. So welcome. Props today, they're optional. So we're going to be doing some balance poses, several balance poses. So if you need an assist with balance, you could have a chair close by. So I have a folding chair there. I also have a little rubber mat that I can put under my knees. We're going to be doing a few poses on the hands and knees today. So if you'd like to have something to tuck under a knee, it could be a hand towel or a gardening pad, whatever works for you. Let me adjust the screen here. And we are going to get started. So our hand gesture today is brought to you by the American Sign Language, and it is the gesture for the word listen. So take one hand and just cup the ear. That's as simple as that. Maybe try the other ear. Make sure both ears are working. And that gesture is listen. Sometimes it's hard to listen. I'll have a quote about listening at the end, but one that I also have used before. But the same letters that form the word listen form the word silent. And that's sometimes hard to do. When we're listening, we want to be talking as well. So sometimes we need to zip it and really listen, open up the ears. Let's start with our standing spinal warm-up. I'm backing up so you can see me head to toe. Make the number 11 with your feet. Align everything. Hips, shoulders, and ears all over the heels. Tuck the shoulder blades into your back pockets, and you are in mountain pose. Let's start with elongation. Scoop the air up, lift the arms up, lift the ribcage up, and then float the arms down to the side. Go at your own pace. Just elongating the spine and then release. At your own pace, a few more. If you want to go deeper, you can add a little squat at the beginning of the lift and really feel the difference. One more. And release. Standing cat and cow. Exhale. Draw the navel in. Bend the hips, bend the knees. Hug a giant tree. Tuck the chin. Inhale. Reverse the curve. Pinch the shoulder blades together. Again, your own pace. Exhaling, standing cat, inhaling, standing cow. Exaggerate the motion, feel that spinal mobility. One more pattern, flexion and extension, and then return to mountain, align. We're going to go into lateral flexion, so give yourselves a little bit wider platform. Set your feet just a little bit wider than your hips. Place your right hand on the right thigh, left hand to the sky, soft knees. Don't bend the knees, but just keep them a little soft as we start that lateral flexion, lengthening the left side body. And let's do one more to this side, and we switch. Left hand to left thigh, and we laterally flex and stretch and open the right side body. One more, then return to mountain. We're going to go into lateral flexion again. We're going to add our first little balance component here. Taking the hand away from the thigh. We're not going to stand on one leg or anything. Sometimes balance is just about focusing on the balance in 2 feet. So taking away the support of the hand, cradle the back of your head or just at the edges of the head and start to dip right, center, left, center. Now our tendency is that we want to lean forward. Don't do that. Keep an upright spine. We are only flexing to the side, not to the front. Do one more to each side. And release. Shake it out. We're going to go into our last spinal warm-up. Rotation right and left. Bring your arms forward. And now send your right arm to the right and twist and look. Come back and same thing, opposite side. Just a gentle twist. You can keep this going or you can make it bigger, moving both arms down through the hips as you make those opposite L shapes, maybe reaching behind you for a deeper L shape. One more each side. center, and release. Shake it up. All right, shake it up. Oh, that's a smile. Sorry. Shake it out is what I meant to say. All right, we're going to go into a little spinal roll down. Another spinal warm-up, usually associated with Pilates, but we can incorporate it in our yoga as well because it's basically a warm-up for a forward fold. Standing forward fold is yoga pose, Uttanasana. So let's start. Align again. Hips, shoulders, ears, all over the heels. Shoulder blades in the back pockets. As you inhale, grow through the crown of the head. Exhale, tuck the chin. Bring your hands to your thighs. Take one breath cycle here in. And now exhale, peel it back up. All the way back up to the top. We're going to do that twice more, and we're going to try to go lower each time. So that was just to the thighs. Second time, we'll bring the hands down to the shins. Third time, if you can, let the fingertips touch the floor. As you come back up, I want you to really think about articulating the spine. Keep the knees soft. We're not trying to give a real stretch for the backs of the legs yet. We want to stretch the back of the body. So think about if you were a cat or a dog and you had a tail. As you come up, you want to tuck your tail between your legs and come up slowly with that tailbone tucked underneath. All right, second roll down. Inhale, grow through the crown of the head. Exhale, tuck the chin and start to fold down. This time the hands land on the shins. Take one inhale here. Bend your knees, tuck your tail, and start to come all the way back up as you exhale. And release. Last one, if you can, bring those fingertips to touch the floor. Or if that's not accessible to you, listen to your body and only go to the thighs or the shins, whatever works for you. Tall spine. Inhale through the crown of the head. Exhale, tuck the chin, start to roll down. Soften the knees if you need to. Touch the earth. Breathe. One inhale. Tuck your tail. Start to rise back up. Stack the vertebrae one at a time, coming all the way back up, and then roll those shoulders back a few times. And release to stand tall. Going into rising mountain. Whenever we balance, we're working core stability, working those core muscles, not just the front, sides and back as well. So let's start with a split stance, rising mountain. Step your right foot forward, just maybe 3 inches or so. So I'm not going into a big split stance or even a lunge. I still have some space between the arch of the foot and the big toe of my left foot. So shoulders back. We're still aligned, even though one heel is forward. We want to keep the hips over the back heel and the shoulders and the ears. If you want, you can bring your hands to your hips or behind your back, or if it helps, you can bring them out to a T. We're going to rise our mountain, coming up on the balls of the feet and then back down. Whatever arm position works for you. Rising mountain with split stance. One more. Release, return the feet to parallel. And opposite foot comes forward. Again, lining up the arch of the left foot with the big toe of the right. Again, if you want to take the arms to a T, or if you want to pick a different hand position this time just to see how that feels. Rising mountain, up on the balls of the feet and down. Working on a little core stability and strengthening the feet muscles. 20 muscles in each foot. Let's do one more. And release, come back to parallel feet. Big toes are even now. And this is the most challenging version of rising mountain with parallel feet. So again, pick your arm position, out in a T for balance, hips or behind the back. Look forward, don't look down at your feet. Chin is level, and we rise up and lower down. This requires a little bit more core stability because we don't have that separated platform. One more. And release. Walk it out. Step a little bit wider than your hips. And we're going to go into a torso twist. Another spinal warm-up, but also engaging core muscles here. Bring your hands together. Just, it doesn't matter which hand is on top. And then relax the shoulders down. Do not move your hips or anything below your hips. Keep the knees soft. Don't hyperextend or lock them out. And now twist to one side and then the other. You can follow with your gaze, but if that makes you dizzy, your head could remain stationary, and you could just move the shoulder girdle, the rib cage, and that torso around your navel. Feel the engagement when you change directions. Your core muscles tighten up just to change directions. Keep the shoulders away from the ears. One more each side. Center and release. Going into a standing bicycle crunch here. Arms to cactus. Let's start with just 3 to the right leg. Right leg up, left elbow. 3, 2, 1. And now 3 to the left. 3, 2, 1. And now we'll challenge our stability by alternating, changing that lifting leg each time. Go at your own pace. Start with either leg, bring it down and opposite. Keep the chin level. Try to get that knee up as high as you can. Feel the crunch, but don't feel the crunch by bending down. Don't do this. Just to get that elbow closer. Bring the knee up. Crunch by bringing the knee up. Let's do 1 more each side. And release. Shake it out. Good work. All right, another balance pose here. We'll start just like we did on the other one, baby version, and then progress. This is a clock tap into curtsy lunge. So make sure you've got room to tap all the way behind you. You're not going to hit any furniture, because that's the step that we get to right before the curtsy. But we start by bringing the big toe forward to 12 o'clock. Let's do the right leg first. 12 o'clock, and then we tap it out once, twice, 3, and then 4, and it's at 6 o'clock, and now curtsy. And come back. We'll do that same leg one more time. Your arms could be anywhere. On the hips, again, out to a T if that helps your balance, or behind your back. Bring the big toe forward, right leg at 12 o'clock, and we tap, 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 6 o'clock tap, and then curtsy, open shoulders, come back. Second leg, we'll do it twice with the taps, and then we're going to progress by making it harder and floating the foot. Let's start with the taps though. Bring the left big toe forward, 12 o'clock. Start tapping around the clock, tap, 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 6 o'clock, and curtsy. Return, same leg, 12 o'clock, and we tap, 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 6 o'clock, and curtsy. Return, mountain pose, shake it out. All right, now we're going to alternate. You can keep it very slow and do the tap, tap, tap version, or if you want, you start with the 12 o'clock tap, but then you float it all the way back to 6 o'clock, and then curtsy. If you want to take it one step further, you start at 12 o'clock, you take it all the way back, you don't even tap at 6 o'clock, you pass by 6 o'clock and go right to your curtsy. So a couple options there. Lots of taps, only tap front and back, or only tap front, always ending in the curtsy. Get ready, we'll start with the right leg, and you pick. I'm going to do the tap, tap, tap version first. Go at your own pace, don't look at me, switch legs each time. And I'm going to switch to just do the tap at 12 and 6 o'clock, and float between 12 and 6 o'clock. You pick. I'm going to take away the 6 o'clock tap and go right into my curtsy. Floating and curtsy. Now I might be going a little more quickly. If you're adding the taps, don't worry about it. Keep it going at your pace. That curtsy lunge also engages the muscles on the outside of the thigh, so we're getting a little strength move and stretch for the IT band. If you're going slow, don't worry about it. Wherever you are, do one more. I'm going to do slow on the last one to make sure everybody has time. And when you finish, just come back to mountain pose. And shake it out. Press out the knees. Good work, my friends. We're going to go into a goddess squat now, so step wide on your mat. Externally rotate. Toes out, heels in. Sink into your version of goddess squat. It could be a shallow goddess squat. If you go deeper, maybe step a little wider. Make sure the knees Maintain that alignment over the heels. And don't tip over like I just tried to do. Bring those arms into a cactus arm. Beautiful. And now bring them forward. Stay in your goddess squat. Wiggle the toes. Don't grab the mat. Take the right arm out to the right. And now forward. And left arm to the left. And forward. Keep going. Or if you want, just like we did in that spinal warm-up, you can go between L to L, sweeping down through the hips as you go from one side to the other. Stay in your goddess squat. Maybe go a little deeper. Challenge. Breathe, engaging all the lower body muscles, including the entire core, side body, back body, front body. Let's do one more each arm. Release the arms and rise up. Ooh, walk it together. Good work, my friends. We're going to go into another standing sequence. By the way, this particular sequence, this practice, has a lot of standing poses. And, secret, I didn't time it. Normally I time them before I do them, but I didn't. So we might have more than enough, or we might have not enough. If so, I will wing it on the fly and make sure we have a 1 hour practice. All right, going from our goddess squat into our chair squat. Remember when we were tucking our tail and those roll downs, and we, on the way up, we tuck the tail between the legs to come up? That's how I want you to feel in a chair squat, like you're tucking your tail between your legs. So let's practice with just one chair squat without adding anything. Bend your knees, bend your hips, draw your navel into your spine, tuck your tail between your legs. Your hands could be on your thighs, your hips, or they could reach forward. You pick. Rise up out of your chair squat. Excuse me. Now we're going to do 8 chair squats in a row and hold the last one. So start in mountain pose. Remember to tuck your tail each time because we're going to be rising right up out of it. So you won't have a lot of time to set your alignment. So think about it the entire time, tucking your tail between your legs. Sink down, chair squat, tuck the tail, rise up. 7 more, rise up. And 6, and 5, 4, tuck that tail, 3, 2, we hold the last one. Tuck your tail, breathe. Bring your arms down, let them just float outside your knees. We're going to add arm motion, but we're going to stay in our chair squat, Utkatasana. Make a V, make cactus arms, and release. V, cactus, release. V, cactus, release. 4 more. V, cactus, squeeze the navel. V, cactus. 2 more. V, cactus. Last one. V, cactus. Release and bring your hands all the way down, rolling all the way down. I'm going to turn and face the skinny end of the mat so you can see side view. If you have some carpet and you can turn as well, go ahead. Or if you want to reorient just like me, go ahead and turn. Coming all the way down into your forward fold. Breathe. 1 more breath cycle. And plank. Take those feet back. Breathe. Push those heels to the back. And now we're going to go into our knee version of Chaturanga Dandasana. Come down to your knees. Toenails touch the mat. Orient your hands so that when you bend your elbows, they bend backwards. If you rotate your thumbs in, your elbows are going to bend out to the side, and that's not a strong position for those joints. So rotate so that your thumbs are pointing to the opposite corner of your mat, and then test. Your elbows will bend backwards. And now, level out your body between the knees and shoulders. So your hips are not up like this. You want to level out like you are a plank on your knees. Bend your elbows. 1 breath cycle. Lift back up. Baby Chaturanga. We're going to do 4 more. If you want, go a little deeper. Baby Chaturanga. And lift. Baby Chaturanga. And lift. 2 more. Baby Chaturanga. And lift. Baby Chaturanga. And lift. Curl your toes onto the mat. We're going into downward dog. Lift it up. Press your thigh bones into your legs. Spread your fingers wide. Lift through the armpits. Breathe. Let your ears be close to your arms. And we're going to drop both knees, almost touch, hover, and lift back up. We're going to do that 4 more times. Hover, and lift. Hover, and lift. Squeeze your navel. Hover, and lift. Hover, stay here. Breathe. We're going to bear crawl the hands backwards towards the knees. Lower the heels. Soft knees. Tuck your tail between your legs. Come all the way up. Just like those roll-ups, so we came up with that tucked tail. All right, we are going to do that bear crawl rising up twice more, but including the rolling down. So it's like the roll down that we did at the very beginning, but we're adding a bear crawl forward. Tall spine, looking down the length of your mat. You're at the back end of your mat. Breathe. Exhale, start your roll down, tuck your chin, bend your knees. Let your hands find the mat. Bear crawl, walk it forward. Hips up, down dog. Knees hover. Bear crawl, walk it back. Tuck your tail, rise up. We're going to do that twice more, ending in the standing position. No, I'm sorry, ending in a plank, my bad. Tuck, soft knees. Bear crawl. Down dog, hover knees, bear crawl back. Tuck your tail, rise up. And now this time we only do half a one, because we're going to come all the way down, stay in our plank, and we're going to tap the alternating shoulder. So if you want, you can come down to your knees for that version. Tall spine, inhale through the crown of the head, tuck the chin. Start to roll down, soft knees, bear crawl forward, stay in your plank. If you want, drop to a knee plank, relaxing the toes onto the mat. If you need your knee pad here, grab your knee pad. Go ahead and come out of the pose for a minute. I'm going to grab mine. So go ahead and grab your knee pad. I'm going to do it just for the knee version. And now tap one shoulder and then the other. Here's what to avoid. When you tap, don't rock and open your hip and rock and open the hip. Try to keep your hips as if they're in cement, tapping, tapping. If you want, come onto your toes and tap and tap. One more each shoulder. And we're going to go into warrior one, using our core strength to come up. So step your right foot forward. If you're on your knees, that means just step that right foot forward. Or you can do it from lifted knees and curl the back toes. Lifting up, drop the heel down on the back foot so the left toes are pointing to the device. Now your hands are on the mat. You can do one of two things. You can help yourself up by touching your thigh. I'm going to move this out of the way. By touching your thigh. Or don't touch your thigh. Sweep all the way up. Throw your right shoulder back and extend the arms. If you feel like your separation is too big between the feet, go ahead and scoot that back foot in a little bit. Square off the shoulders to the skinny end of your mat by throwing the right shoulder back. And we're in warrior one pose. Strong pose for the low body, but we used our core strength to get here by coming up from the mat. Here's where you can use your chair. If we're going to need an assist for your balance, you're going to want your chair. And you're also going to want to get your little knee support out of the way, because we're going to be bringing this back foot forward. So, option for the chair, it's just here for your hand as we lift into warrior three. It's an option. I'm going to show it without, and I'm going to show another option where you don't actually lift up the leg. You just reach forward and keep the big toe and then plant the heel. Lift onto the big toe and plant the heel. That's one variation. Let's do that one more time. Either lift or just rock onto the big toe and come back down. Now, instead of just lifting up, straight up, we're going to tap it forward and bring that foot forward and just tap the mat. So starting your warrior one, upright, fold into warrior three with the floating or the tap, and then tap and stand upright. I'll show it with just the tap version. Warrior one, tap on the big toe for warrior three, and tap to come up to mountain. Back to warrior one. This time I'm going to float the foot in the back for warrior three. Warrior three, tap for mountain. Go at your own pace now. I'm going to show one more level, and that is instead of tapping, you lift the knee up as you come forward. I'm going to show just the tap version here. Warrior one with upright chest. Warrior three, tapping big toe, mountain, tapping big toe. Or no tapping at all on the next one. And again, go at your own pace here. Warrior one, warrior three, knee lift. Warrior one, warrior three, knee lift. Or tap, you pick. Do one more. Warrior one, warrior three, knee lift. And release. Shake it out. We're going to do one more warrior three. I'm going to back up because I want some space in front of me for a swimming motion. So bring that big toe back, same leg, left leg, big toes touching, folding from the hips, and swim the arms like a breaststroke. If you can, float the foot in the back and keep swimming. Just keep swimming, like Dory, right? Take one more swim and release the foot. Rinse it out. Good work, my friends. We are going to take that same sequence to the other side. Starting with the plank and the shoulder taps. So come to the top of your mat, and we're going to do a forward fold to come down into our plank. Crawl down the legs, hands touch the mat, soft knees, step it back into plank. If you want, lower down for your knee version of plank. If so, toenails touch the mat. If you want to do this on your knees, keep the knees lifted. Don't rock the hips. And now start tapping one shoulder and then the other. If your feet are close together and you're on your toes, that's harder. If you want more stability, send your feet to the corners of your mat. Breathe. One more each shoulder. Pause. We're going to go into that warrior one. So if your feet are wide, step them back together. You can drop the knees down if you want, or stay lifted. Step your left foot forward and drop your right heel down. Remember, you can help yourselves up to warrior one by placing the hands on the thigh or float up using that core strength. Throw that shoulder back, lift the arms up, warrior one. Remember, if you want, your chair could be right here, and you could leave one hand on the chair as we go between warrior one and warrior three. Or, if you want, you can keep the big toe on the mat. So here we are, warrior one. We hinge forward, we lift the heel, we're on the big toe, and then lift back up. Using core strength to fold and lift back up, but maintaining balance with the big toe on the mat. So you pick. You can continue with that big toe on the mat, or if you want, you can add the lift and then land. Lift and land. Do one more, and hold your warrior one. Now we're going to add on that stepping forward. So we're going to lift or stay on the big toe, and then step that big toe forward. And then back to warrior one, flat foot, angled. So I'll show that for a few before we take the progression. Warrior one. Warrior three, big toe touching. Mountain, big toe touching. Warrior one. Go at your own pace with the taps, with the toes remaining on the mat. Using the core strength to fold the body. Breathe. Let's pause in warrior one. The next time you land in warrior one, everybody hold warrior one. You can relax your arms. I'm going to add the progression here to lift for that leg. You don't have to. You keep the big toe touching, and then bring the big toe forward to touch. So we're in warrior one, warrior three with a lifted leg, and then tap the big toe forward into mountain. Back to warrior one, flat foot. Hinge forward, lift, and tap. Go at your own pace. Warrior one, and switch into warrior three, lifted leg, and tapping toe. Keep going. Do one more from warrior one, warrior three, and tapping toe. And everyone land back in warrior one. I'm going to add one more progression. You already know what it is, and that is to, instead of tapping the toe, lift the knee. Now you could combine warrior three with the toe touching into knee lift. So you can make one side easier and one side harder, both sides easier with tapping toe, or both sides harder with a lift and a lift. It's all about mixing it up and doing what's right for you. So let's all start in warrior one, left shoulder back. I'm going to start with the taps again. Warrior three, tapped toe, mountain, tapped toe. Now I'm going to add the lift in the back. Warrior one, warrior three, lift, mountain, tap. Now I'm going to add the lift on both sides. Warrior one, warrior three, lift, mountain, lift. Back to warrior one to stabilize. Go at your own pace. Make it your own. Working core strength, core stability here. Keep going. Be strong. Engage those abdominal muscles. Let's do one more sequence from warrior one into warrior three and into mountain, and then release. Walk it out. We're not done. We've got that last warrior three with the swimming arms, right? So once again, make sure you've got room in front of you to swim. You're going to be on that left leg. Tap that big toe behind you. Keep the right big toe touching. You're hinged forward from the hips. Engage the abdominal muscles and start your swimming motion. You can stay here or float the back foot. Breathe. Adding movement to a balanced pose creates challenge. One more swimming motion, and release. Whew. Good work, my friends. We are done with our standing portion. So if you would like to move your device down to the floor, I'm going to move this chair out of the way. Go ahead and move your device to the floor or to a stack of books if you prefer. And we are going to come into a plank. So go ahead and I'm going to go back to the other end of my mat. And however you want to get there, get there from hands and knees. And we're going to be going into dolphin plank and dolphin. So coming into your plank and then lowering onto your elbows. That's called a suicide plank, but only half of one. Push your heels away from you. Make sure your shoulders are stacked over your elbows, and then exhale, hips up. It's a small motion. Squeeze your navel. Inhale, dolphin plank. Push your heels away. Exhale, hips up. Inhale, hips level. 2 more. Exhale, hips up. Inhale, level. Last one. Hips up, level, knees down, tops of the toes touch, and go ahead and rest the cheek on the hands. Take a breath cycle here. We're going to go into a spinal extension called half bow pose. If you know full bow pose and you want to do it, you'll do it twice because I'm going to model half bow. And that's the pose where we grab one foot with the same hand. If you know full bow, that's grabbing both feet with both hands. But again, you'll do it twice. Important thing on this pose for alignment, whether you're doing half bow with me or you're doing full bow twice, do not let your knees splay open. You want to imagine that there's a balloon between your knees and it can't drop. You have to keep pressing on that imaginary balloon, pressing the knees towards each other. So even if only one knee is lifted, imagine you're pressing towards the imaginary midline of your body. Don't let the knees splay open or you're going to add force onto the outside of the knee, and that's not good for your knee joint. So joining me in half bow if you want. Bring your arms to the top of the mat. Doesn't matter how they're situated. One of them is going to reach back anyway. Let's start with bending your left leg and reaching back with your left hand, connecting hand to foot. Look forward now. Don't look at your device. Imagine you're already pressing that left knee towards the midline, even before you lift it up. I don't have room to reach all the way forward here and straighten my fingers, so I'm just going to reach forward with a bent arm. You can make an adjustment if you've got furniture in the way too. If you're going to go into full bow, go ahead and bend that second knee and grab the second knee. Keep being mindful that you're pressing a balloon between your knees. Take one inhalation with your chest still on the ground. And then on your next inhalation, lift your thigh and lift your right arm in half bow, or lift both thighs in full bow. Imagine that you're reaching your upper body forward to the top of your mat. Take one more breath cycle and release. Once again, rest the cheek on the hands, resting pose. And we're going to go into half bow on the second side, or if you did full bow, you get to do it again. Bend your right knee this time and reach back with your right hand. Already thinking about pressing the inside of the knee to the midline of the body. If you're adding that full bow, go ahead and bend the left knee as well. If you're in half bow like I am, take your left arm forward. Take one inhalation, exhalation with the chest on the mat. And on your next inhalation, lift your right thigh, lift your left arm, breathe, or lift both legs if you're in full bow, Dhanurasana, or Ardha Dhanurasana, half bow. Keep pressing to the midline on that balloon. One more breath cycle. And release. Rest your face on your hands. We're going to take a child's pose here after those two spinal extensions. So place your hands beneath your shoulders. Push your hips back. If it bothers your knees to come down low with your hips, then stay here, just pushing the hips back up in the air. Or if you can, tuck your hips all the way back. Bow your head. Curving the back body here, complementing those spinal extensions that we just did with forward flexion. One more breath cycle. And pull yourselves forward into table pose. Here's where you can add your mat again. You need your little pad under your knees. Go ahead and set it up under your knees, or you could use a hand towel, or you could also double up your mat. If you've got some carpeting underneath, you could place your hands on your carpet. Place your hands in big stars. And we're going to set up for side plank. We're going to stay on our knees. We're not going into full side plank. So align. Make sure your wrist is under your shoulder so your hands aren't forward and they're not backwards. You want to set that alignment, spreading your hands wide. Neutral spine, so we're not in cat or cow, we're not rounding or dipping. Neutral spine. Breathe. And I know you want to look towards your device, but for just a moment, look down towards your fingers and then look upwards of your fingers towards the top edge of your mat. And just keep that neck aligned and take a few breath cycles in neutral spine. And we're going to set up for side plank so that we have a nice center foundation. Move your right knee more towards the center and step your left foot back and drop that heel down. If you want, make a kickstand by kicking that right big toe to the edge of your mat. And then take that left arm up to the sky. Side plank on the knee. Working into those side body muscles. Again, all part of the core. And we're going to go a little deeper into those side body muscles. Don't sink on your right shoulder, so don't start to sink down like this. Now keep that strength going. And now take those left fingertips, curl the fingertips underneath, and then lift back up. Go at your own pace, adding that little rotation, feeling the squeeze in the right side body and in those center abdominal muscles as well, erectus abdominis. Do one more. And take that left hand to your hip. We're going to go into low version of half moon here. So flex your left foot so your big toe is pointing directly towards your device. And if you can, float it off the mat. It could be just an inch, or it could be a little higher. Breathe. If you want, you could take this left hand back up to the sky. Breathe. One more breath cycle. And float the foot down and bring the hand back to the hip. Finishing off this sequence with Wild Thing. It's an opening for the front body. Keep lifting up through that shoulder. Take this left hand, sweep it behind you, and open your chest to the ceiling. Breathe. That hand is just floating in the air behind you. One more breath cycle. And now return to table. Everything comes back to the mat. Sink it back to child's pose. And now you've been on this right wrist for a moment, so let's go ahead and roll it out. Both ways. We'll do a wrist stretch at the end of the second side. I'm going to turn so that I can face you for side plank and half moon. You can turn as well. Set up your table pose. Neutral spine. Spread the fingers wide, line up the wrists beneath the shoulders. Take a few breath cycles here. Press into the mat, pressing down into the earth by lifting up through the shoulders. And now take your left knee, bring it a little bit closer to the center. Right foot goes back, right heel comes down. And once again, inside plank, taking that hand up to the sky. Breathe. Keep lifting up through that left shoulder. Don't sink onto the shoulder. Breathe. Beautiful. We're going to add that twisting motion. If you feel unstable here, turn your left leg into a kickstand by moving the big toe towards the outside edge of the foot. That'll give you some stability. And now curl your fingers, come beneath your rib cage, and then lift back up. Go at your own pace. Squeezing those abdominal muscles and the oblique muscles for that twisting motion. And you're on one knee, one hand. So we're working on balance, core stability. One more. And now take that right hand to your hip. Going into the low version of half moon, Ardha Chandrasana. Flex that right foot, big toe is pointing towards your device, and float it up. It could be just an inch, or you could get it higher at hip height, or anywhere in between. Breathe. Option to take that arm up to the sky. Breathe. One more breath cycle. Foot down. Hand back to the hip. We're going to finish off with Wild Thing. So take that right hand, sweep it behind you, open your chest, keep lifting through that left shoulder. The right hand is floating, it's not touching anything. Breathe. One more breath cycle. And bring that hand back down, knee down, child's pose again. Hips could be high, elbows can be bent, or you can tuck those hips all the way back. Bow the head. And again, we've spent a lot of time there on the left wrist, so go ahead and roll out the wrist. So in those poses, our wrist was bent at 90 degrees, so we want to take it the opposite direction. So lift up. You can be sitting on your heels like this. If that bothers you, just come up forward a little bit and come into a little kneeling pose. Take the backs of your hands down to the mat. Turn the hands so the fingertips point towards each other, towards the midline. And now bend the elbows out to the side and lift back up. We're stretching the top side of the wrist in the opposite direction that it was just flexed when we were supporting ourselves inside plank. Do one more. And release your hands off the mat. We're going to lie down and finish off with some supine poses, more core strength. So go ahead and extend your legs to the bottom of your mat. I'm going to turn the other way so that more of my body is in the sunlight. Go ahead and hug your knees into the chest as you lie down. Maybe add a little swing, massaging the low back before we go into some more strength for the core. And then we'll finish with some stretches. Plant the feet flat, arms are flat on the mat. We're going to start with a simple bridge pose. So walk your heels in. You should be able to just barely touch the heels with your fingertips. Imagine that you've got that balloon between your knees again and you're pressing inward. So don't let your knees fall open like this. You keep pressing inward on that balloon. Upper arms are pressing downward into the mat. So think about the backs of the arms pressing down into the mat. Hands are light. Start to tilt your pelvis, almost lift but not quite, and then relax back down. Do that again. Almost lift but not quite. Just engaging those muscles and then release. And this one will actually lift. Go ahead, almost lift, and then go ahead and peel your bottoms up off the mat. Breathe. Exhale, come back down. Go at your own pace. Articulate the spine as if your spine is a necklace of beads, and you want to place one bead back down onto the mat at a time, and when you're lifting, one bead at a time is coming up. Articulating the spine, moving bridge, working front and back body core muscles here. Keep pressing those upper arms into the mat. That's going to give you stability through the upper body. Breathe. Let's do one more bridge and end with our bridge up in the air. Pressing those hips. We're going to add a challenge variation. You don't have to. Now don't look anymore at your device. Turn your head so you're looking straight up at the ceiling. Pressing those upper arms into the mat. And now press in with your right foot and lift the left. If you want, go ahead and straighten it. And bring that big toe, or if your knee is bent, the knee up towards the ceiling 4 times. 4, 3, 2, 1, and switch feet. Placing that left foot back down, bringing the right foot up. You're either bent knee pressing upwards or big toe is pressing upwards. 4, 3, 2, 1, foot down. Articulate the spine back down to the mat. And hug the knees. Add a little sway. Breathe. Extend your legs up for candlestick pose. If this bothers your legs to have straight legs, you could have a slight bend or even a 90-degree bend. You pick. You can do this pose with bent knees, so I'll show it both ways. I'm going to show it first with bent knees, and that is we're just going to lower the thighs away from us and then bring the thighs back to that vertical position. Lower away and back to vertical. With straight legs, it looks the same. The thighs move away and they come back up. It could be a very small amount. I'm demonstrating small here. Or if it's okay for your low back, you can go a little lower. You pick. Keep pressing those upper arms into the mat. Breathe. Let's do one more. Leg lowers. And hug the knees. Add a little sway if you like. Keep the knees bent. Place your arms back on the mat. Upper arms are pressing into the mat. And now separate your big toes, but keep the heels together. Your knees might separate a little as well. And we're going to go into a little froggy motion here. Extend and open the knees. Extend. Heels stay together. So it's a little froggy crunch. The heels, when they go in and out, they stay at the same height. Imagine there's a coffee table there, and you're sliding your heels along a coffee table. So here's what you're not doing. You're not lifting your feet up and then bringing them back down. You're going to keep the heels at the same height. If you cannot straighten your legs all the way out, that's fine. Do what you can do. Maybe you can only go a few inches. That's okay. Do one more froggy. And bring the knees together. Hug them back in. We're going to combine those two motions. Leg lowers and then froggy tuck in. Extend your legs for candlestick. Start with your legs already, your feet already in that V shape. Big toes are separated and heels are touching. Lower, froggy come in and extend back up, candlestick. Keep going at your own pace. Remember, you might have your knees already bent to come down into leg lowers and then come into your froggy tuck. And then when you come back up, you don't come all the way to straight. You pick. Listen to your body. Look up at the ceiling. You don't need to look at your device now. You're just doing the same motion over and over. Remember, as you do that froggy tuck, you're keeping the heels gliding along the coffee table. Let's do one more in this direction. Hug the knees in for a second. We're going to reverse directions here. So keeping the knees towards your body, open them into that froggy pose. Keep the heels together. And now keep the heels at the level, straighten them out, and lift up to candlestick. Come down into your froggy and push the feet out. Keep going at your own pace. Leg lifts and froggy. Let's do one more. And hug the knees. Over this way. Breathe. We're going to go into single leg extensions here. So bring both knees to the letter L. Insides of the feet are touching. Place both hands on your right knee and pull that right knee towards your chest as you straighten that left knee and push the left foot away. And then switch. Single leg extension. Your legs could be higher. This is less intense. Or they could be at 45, or they could be even lower to the floor. If you want to add more challenge here, look up at the ceiling and lift your head off the mat. As you draw that knee in, tuck it. Add a little stretch. Keep an apple under your chin. Let's do 4 more. Wherever you are, do 4 more. And then you can lay back down and rest. Hug the knees. Beautiful. We're going to do one more strength pose. And that is crisscross. Looks a lot like what we just did. Bring the knees to the letter L. But this time we're not going to grab the knee. We're going to keep the fingertips at the head. Draw that right knee towards you. Send the left foot away. And this time bring that left elbow towards the right knee. And then switch. Crisscross motion. We did something similar to this very early in today's practice, but we were standing up. And we had cactus arms. Let's do one more each side. And release. Hug the knees in. Add a little sway. Good work, my friends. We did a lot of core work, a lot of lower body work. Let's do a couple stretches here to finish. Long legs, long arms overhead, full body stretch, abdominal stretch. Inhale. Exhale, yawn. Once again, inhale. Exhale, yawn. Let's go into our figure 4 stretch. Plant both feet flat. Pick up your right foot. Bring it above the left knee. Pick up your left foot so you're going to reach behind the left thigh and pull that leg in a little closer. Relaxing those shoulders down into the mat. You can keep the left foot low, or you know what you can do. You can bring it up a little higher, or you can add motion. Breathe. One more breath cycle. And release. Switching sides. Place that left ankle above the right knee. Pick up your right foot so you can reach behind your right thigh. Hug that thigh in a little closer, shoulders relax down. Same options, you can keep that foot low, bring it up a little higher, keeping it stationary, or add the motion. One more breath cycle. And we release. Both feet come to the mat. We're going to go into an inner thigh stretch here. So walk the insides of the feet together and then open the knees. Bring the soles of the feet together. Hands can rest on the belly, on the inner thighs, or on the mat. Whatever's comfortable to you. Inner thigh groin stretch. In this pose, your low back will lift up off the mat slightly, so you're in a little bit of a spinal extension. So we'll counter that in just a moment with a happy baby pose, where you get to flex the spine forward and give it a stretch. One more breath cycle. Hands on the outsides of your thighs to close the knees. Draw both knees into your chest. Separate your knees and feet wide. Flex the feet. And then let the soles of the feet look up at the ceiling. Claw your hands up to the shins, the ankles, the big toes, or wrap the hands onto the soles of the feet and then draw those knees closer to your armpits. Complementing the pose that we just did, where the spine was extended, with this pose where the spine is flexed. Look up at the ceiling, don't look at your device anymore. If you want, add a sway. If you can, draw those knees a little closer and let your hips feel heavy towards the mat. This is our last pose before relaxation. Breathe. Heavy hips. Feel that deep stretch across the sacrum. One more breath cycle. Release your hands to the mat one at a time. Bring your feet to the mat. And we'll extend the legs for corpse pose if you like. Palms open to the ceiling. Or you can keep the knees bent, letting the knees rest against each other. Or you can take any other relaxing pose that you like. Maybe you'd like to lie on your side in a fetal position. Maybe you want to go back to child's pose. Whatever is comfortable to you. Relax. Close your eyes. Survey your body. We did a lot of strength poses today. Not a lot of moving, not a lot of squatting. We did some squats actually, but we didn't do a layer cake where we kept adding more and more movements. But we did the repetitive motion of Warrior 1 into Warrior 3 for those chair squats, or holding the chair squat with the arm motion. Lots and lots of poses to strengthen the abdominal area, not just the rectus abdominis, but the obliques and the low back as well. Breathe. Survey your body. If you want to take another full body stretch, you can. You can yawn, stretching the facial muscles. And one more breath cycle here. And we're going to make our way back to a seated pose. So you can roll to your side and push to a seated pose, or you can do one sit-up. Oh my gosh, one more core pose to get back to your seated position. We started our practice today with that gesture that meant listen. So my quote is about that very activity of listening. From Albert Einstein, and he wrote, "Don't listen to the person who has the answers. Listen to the person who has the questions." Sometimes that's a more intriguing path to take. Take your hands outside your hips, inhale to the sky, let your thumbs touch your mind, your spirit breath, and your body. The spirit in me honors the spirit in all of you. Namaste, my friends. Thank you for joining me for this rather intense practice today. I hope it was a good practice and you got a lot out of it. and I'll see you next week. Keep breathing.